Kelly Jane Torrance is Deputy Managing Editor at the Weekly Standard. Kelly Jane, let's start right there with North Korea. We've been talking tough, the administration has, and even before the Trump administration, Obama administration, everyone's talked tough on North Korea. Yet, here we are.
Yeah, it's easy to talk tough, isn't it? But to actually act tough, that's a different thing. And you're right. I mean, North Korea, their government has made it clear for years, for, the current leader's grandfather, his son, now the grandson, has made it clear that they see America as, enemy number one, maybe two after South Korea. And they've made it clear that they have going to be seeking a weapon that can reach America. And they've finally done it.
The two most influential leaders in that region, President Xi from China, President Putin of Russia. President Trump is going to have the chance to talk to President Putin over the next few days. What's the best that he could hope for coming out of these meetings, specifically about North Korea?
That they'll do something, almost anything. One of the strongest statements that Nikki Haley made in her comments was countries that do business with North Korea, if they think they're going to do business with the United States, she said, that's not going to happen. Now, do we actually think that's true? China does, about $600 billion every year in trade with the United States. Do we really believe the U.S. is going to cut that off? No.
Yeah, probably not.
But they could do more. I mean, as Trump himself noted, trade with China, China's trade with North Korea has actually gone up in the first quarter of this year. Now, I have to note that news was actually released by China in April.
Right.
Seems Trump only noticed it this week after the North Korea missile launch. And
so what would motivate Russia and China to actually do something about it? Because right now they're sitting back, you have to think, saying, well, what do we care? You can threaten the U.S. as much as you want. We're not getting any blowback as a result of that. The guy's not going to attack us.
Exactly. And in some ways, they might have incentive to push back against the United States. I mean, China wants to dominate that region. They want to be the sole power in that region. They're trying to get the United States out. So they have incentive to try to look like, hey, we can stand up to the United States. We're not going to do what they tell us to do. I mean, the only way for the United States to get either of these countries to do something is to say, if you don't, we are going to do something, and then to actually follow through on that threat.
If you and I both were to sit right here, right now, and look into our crystal ball, what are the things on President Trump's priority list for when he sits down with President Putin? Is North Korea at the top? Is election meddling at the top? The economy? I mean, how do we rank what things are importance of discussion?
That's an excellent question. I think those are all near the top, and I would add one other, which is Syria, which of course, the U.S. and Russia have some different. That's certainly an area of conflict. We're against the Assad regime, and Putin is helping to keep him in power, and so that's definitely got to be one of the big ones. North Korea certainly now is going to come up, and I hope that the Ukraine will be part of that. Now, I don't know if it will. Trump, he first during the election campaign, he said that Putin hadn't invaded Crimea, they hadn't annexed Crimea. I think since then he's learned that that wasn't accurate. Right. And so I hope that he brings that up as well. And of course, terrorism worldwide is an issue, and that's certainly part of the Syria discussion and beyond. Yeah. So they have a lot to talk about in what's expected to be about a half-hour meeting.
So with all the anticipation and the headlines really dominated by the fact that this foreign trip, Trump will meet with Putin face-to-face for the first time, but all of the other G20 leaders are going to be there as well in Germany for this meeting. So what are some things maybe that aren't stealing the headlines that are equally important for the president on this trip?
Well, certainly Europe is a little bit upset with Trump since he said that we are not going to be honoring the Paris Accord. We are going to be backing out. Now, personally, I think given all of the things that are going on in the world right now, North Korea's missile test, terrorism, which Europe especially has been facing a lot more of in the last few years, that is a bigger issue to me than climate change. That's not necessarily what Chancellor Merkel thinks. So that is certainly going to be something that they're worried about. And the other interesting thing is, again, they really want President Trump to declare his support for NATO's Article 5 on European soil. He wouldn't do it the last time he was in Europe. They really would like him to do now, to admit that, yes, I support NATO's Article 5, which says that if one NATO member is attacked, it's considered an attack on all, right, and they will bring all of them together to support it. He's been reluctant to support that, and I think that's something that's very important to NATO, which is, a lot of its members are part of the G20.
Another possible thing on the to-do list among the hundreds that are already there.
A lot to do in 2 days, isn't it?
Right. Kelly Jane Torrance with the Weekly Standard. Appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming in and talking with us.